just gonna go for it. Okay. Gotta make sure that I turn this off. Okay, hey everybody, I'm gonna get started really quick. Hey, I am Alex. Hi gang. Welcome to IS Academy. Peter, is there anything that you want me to say before I get started? Okay, Peter's gonna ask a couple questions and then we'll get this show on the road.
Cool, really quick. How many of you are in IS-201? How many of you are planning on applying to the IS-4 this year? Okay, like you. Are you applying next year? Okay, awesome. Just really quick plug. IS is awesome. And so I just have the purpose is to help you build some resources that get some of things that IS Academy and IS people do, majors do. So tonight we have Alex. He's going to be talking about HTML, how the internet works, which is we're going to learn more about HTML. But this is going to give you some exposure. It's really going to help if you practice it really consistently outside. And sometimes outside of class, outside of IS Academy, sometimes in that. But the only way to also get involved is join AIS. How many of you join AIS? Yeah, a couple of you. We send out newsletters every week, something like info sections that where you can get something with internship. And we have a bunch of sponsors like Microsoft, ExxonMobil, all the big four, Domo, all these different institutes that really want IS majors. And so if you send in service and now that could be super simple, but it's super different. So I strongly suggest doing AIS. You're going to get a lot of great benefits from it. And if you have any questions about how to do more AIS, you can go to AIS.ua.edu and the contact us to get going now and take you there and show you guys what I'm going to turn it over to Alex though, and if you have questions, ask me after. And
Yeah, and if you have any questions for me, go ahead and ask those during the presentation, whatever. And get some cookies and brownies. Just so you know, I am live streaming this, so I mean, we're at BYU. I don't know how profane you could get, but probably less profane than me, so we're already in hot water. Okay, this is meant to be a do as I'm doing, follow me kind of presentation. So go to this bit.ly link here, and if you don't feel like doing any coding, then don't go to the bit.ly link. You can just follow along with my slides. You can look ahead and whatever. But yeah, let's do this. Hi, this is me. I'm Alex. That is my wife, Crystal. I'm the one with the sunglasses and the hat. There's a dinosaur too. That's not my wife. It's the woman there. She's my wife. We like dinosaurs and we like spaceships. And if you want to hear me talk about something that I love more than HTML, ask me about my spaceship. What? Oh, sorry. There's the bit.ly link. I mean, I'll show you the bit.ly link later, so we don't need it right now. This is just me talking about myself. Hi. Okay, cool. So what we're going to talk about is making websites using HTML. This is the language that every website is made with, literally every single website. I'm going to teach you how to teach yourself, because there's no way in an hour that I'm going to be able to teach you everything you need to know about HTML. I'm going to teach you the basics so that when you look at HTML, you can kind of know what you're looking at. And then from there, it's going to be up to you to learn on your own. And I'm going to give you a lot of other stuff that you can do too. And there's that bit.ly link again, because we're going to be interacting. We're going to be doing some coding together. You're going to follow along with me if you want. What not to expect, I'm not going to be able to plug into your brain, insert the HTML floppy disk, and teach you HTML food just like that. You do not live in the matrix as much as, well, I don't know if that would be cool or not, but sorry, that's not what's going to happen. Cool. So, there's that bit.ly link again if you didn't get it the first time, and I promise it will be here again. Does anybody need me to hold it up there? Okay, let's get started. Woo! Who knows what the web is? I'm going to try and ask this open-endedly and not be pedantic. Tell me what the web is. Yeah. Yeah, that is exactly it. The web is a collection of pages networked together And the way that they're networked is using links. Who's ever clicked on a link before? It's kind of very common nowadays. 20 years ago, when the web was first invented, nobody had any idea what a link was. But this really smart guy who happened to be a PhD working for CERN, doing a bunch of research, was like, wouldn't it be cool if we could link all of our pages together with these hyperlinks? Because it's hypermedia. Like, media is just regular stuff that you view, but hypermedia links between stuff. Ooh. So that's where the H comes in. That stands for hyper. This guy, his name was Tim Berners-Lee. Now his name is Sir Tim Berners-Lee because he's really cool and he got knighted. He invented 3 things that make up the web. 3 really important things, okay? Number 1 is the URL. How many of you have heard of a URL? Who wants to tell me what a URL is? You've all heard of it. Yeah, that's exactly it. It is an address which you can use to point at a very specific web page. In Tim Berners-Lee day, this was a specific document, and his thought was the URL would never change for that document. So you could always type in that document, and it would always point to the same place. Okay? It includes a server name. Nowadays we use domain names, so google.com. It can include the port of the computer that you're communicating with. If you don't know what a port is, do IS. They'll teach you what a port is. They're pretty cool. All that good stuff in this URL, and then the path to the file. Okay, number 2, HTTP. Who's ever heard of HTTP? Who's ever used HTTP? Everybody's hand should go into the air, because if you've used Facebook, you've used HTTP. It stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol, and all that it is a way for computers to talk to each other, where one computer says, hey, I want to get this document. And the other computer says, okay, I have that document, here you go. And then it sends it to you. HTTP also defines all of those fun error codes that we make fun of nowadays, like 404 and 500 and 418, which is the I'm a teapot. There really is an error code, 418, where the server tells the client that it's a teapot. So you can't make coffee with a teapot, right? Programmers are weird. It's just computer people are weird. And then the final thing is HTML, and that's what we're going to be covering most of today. Okay? Just a couple of things on URL. This is a URL, HTTP, that's Hypertext Transfer Protocol, // which says, hey, I'm going to tell you the server next, and then example.com. Huzzah! That's a URL. Believe it or not, there's a specification for what makes a URL. There's an organization called the WHATWG. I can't remember what it stands for, but it's basically the people that define what the web is, and they have a specification for what a URL is. And guess when the last time it was updated? This is really interesting. I just found this out. Just throw out a date. 2015, 2000. No, it was actually last month. Isn't that wild? I was like, what? No way! Yeah, so they're continually updating these documents. Same thing for HTML, same thing for HTTP. Kind of crazy. HTTP, this comes straight from Wikipedia. The Hypertext Transfer Protocol is an application protocol for distributed, collaborative, and hypermedia information systems. Hey, there's that buzzword, information systems. And hyper. Everything's hyper. I'm hyper. Yeah, so basically it's just a way for data to be transferred between computers. Most of the time you don't even have to think about it. What you do have to think about, though, is, I don't know what the was. I can't remember why I put that there, and I don't have presenter notes. Sorry. Oh, that's right. This is where I explained that in the world of the internet, you have a server, which is over here on the right side. And a server has all of the information for your website. And if some client, like a laptop or an iPhone or a desktop computer, would like to access that, then they can do so over the internet. And HTTP is where they send a message into the internet saying, I want this file. And then the server says, okay, here is that file. Or if the file doesn't exist, then it sends back 404. That file is not found. Or if you're not allowed to access it, it sends back 403, forbidden, or whatever, right? So all of that's programmed into the server, and the clients know what to do with those HTTP calls. And that's how it works. You have a server, you have a client. Ta-da. Our end of thing, oh, who knows what a client is? Like, on a computer, what client program would I use to access the web? It's a really dumb question, but I feel like it needs to be said. Let's take a quick poll. How many of you, for your personal preference, use Google Chrome? Raise your hand, high in the air. I would say that's like 99% of the classroom. Who did not raise their hand, just barely? What web browser do you use? Safari. Me too, actually. What do you use? Microsoft Edge. He's living on the edge. At least he's not Internet Exploring, or worse yet, Netscaping. What do you use? Edge. Okay. Does anybody in here use Firefox? Every now and then, yeah. When somebody says, my website's broken on Firefox. Okay, I'll pull up Firefox, I'll test it out. Now, Firefox is cool, you should use it, but yeah, I use Chrome for development and Safari for just regular browsing. These are web browsers. The web browsers are programmed by big companies like Apple and Google and Microsoft to allow you to browse the internet. And these big companies get all of the specifications for how they make the web from Whatwig and another organization called the W3C. They're the ones that say, this is how HTML works, this is the stuff you're allowed to use with HTML, this is the stuff you're not allowed to use with HTML. Did you know there's actually stuff you're not supposed to use with HTML? I'm going to teach you about that stuff. Be excited. Okay, and then finally HTML. We're going to dive into the anatomy of an HTML element. Look. Oh, hypertext markup language. That's what it stands for. Hyper because you can link between things. Text because you write it in text. Markup because it isn't actually a programming language. It's a markup language, which basically is a fancy way of writing fancy documents instead of just with plain text. And it's a language because you have to learn it, and it has weird semantics and syntax and stuff. Cool. The great thing about this, it's interactive. So I can come here and be like, this is an HTML tag. Ooh. Or an HTML element, excuse me. The whole thing is the HTML element. Tell me, this again, I'm going to ask you to teach everybody. What do you see here? There's no wrong answer. Boxes and lines, okay? These boxes surround the different parts of the HTML tag. So tell me about the stuff that's inside of the HTML, or inside of the boxes, rather. Words in a weird language. I don't know. Description, class, lorem ipsum. Okay, that is weird. That is a weird language, you're right. No, it's actually fake. Yeah, people use lorem ipsum just as placeholder text. You find it all over the place nowadays. But that just represents normal text. You could put anything you want in there. That is not HTML. But class and description, those, I understand what those are. What else do you see? An opening and a closing, okay? HTML is like the most epic programming sandwich ever. Because literally everything, well, I shouldn't say literally everything, but a lot of things in HTML have opening tags and closing tags, and you put stuff between them. And depending on which tag you use, and the stuff that you put between them defines the structure and layout of your website, okay? So, we'll dive into this really quick. You have the opening tag. The tag starts with a less than symbol, and it ends with a greater than symbol. I'm just going to call these collectively brackets, okay? Deal with it. And then it has the name of the tag right here. In this case, this is a P tag. P stands for paragraph, so I would use this when I'm writing out a paragraph. Remember, HTML was designed to display documents. So a lot of the things that we're going to be using for these tags are ways of defining these documents and styling them and whatnot, okay? Then I have what's called an attribute, or an attribute, depending on which side of the Mississippi you're from. In this case, the attribute has a name. This name is class. And then I have an equal saying the class is, and then whatever the value is, which is in quotes. You can use double quotes or single quotes, but you can't use triple quotes because that's not actually a thing. Then you have the content of your tag. In this case, it's weird text. Whatever, lorem ipsum. And then you have the closing tag, In this case, it has the brackets, but it also has a slash. The slash indicates that this is the end of a P, okay? That means that I could actually put multiple P tags inside of each other. I could nest them. Maybe we'll do that. I think we're just going to nest some other elements, though, okay? So far, so good. What questions do you have? Yes? So we'll get to images. They are a little bit different because instead of having content on the inside of the picture, or the tag, image tags just close immediately. They're what's called a self-closing tag. So it would be bracket, img, the attributes, which we'll get to, and then slash bracket. Nothing on the inside, no closing bracket. Because of that, you'd use an attribute to define the location of the image on the internet. We'll do that. We'll have an image. In fact, we'll make it move across the screen. Cool. What other questions do you have? You could, absolutely. You don't have to have an attribute. There are several attributes that can be defined on the different elements. I'm not going to go over all the attributes because there are a lot of elements and some elements have different attributes than others. That's where you get to look up stuff yourself. That's the number one thing that I can teach you is how to Google crap. And I promise we're going to Google crap today. In this case, I think it's just for an example, okay? Classes are really good if you're doing something with CSS, stands for Cascading Style Sheets. HTML and CSS go hand in hand, where HTML lets you define the structure of your web page, and CSS lets you define what it looks like. I'm not going to teach you any CSS today, but if you come back in a month, I'll teach CSS at the next IS Academy that I'm teaching, I can't remember when, sometime in October. Any other questions? Awesome. I think then we're ready to look at tags. Yes! Oh my gosh. There's so dang many tags. You're going to like go crazy over how many tags there are. I did. That's the thing. I learned stuff putting this together, and I've been doing HTML for like 9 years or something. It's kind of crazy. So you have some tags. You have the HTML tag, which remember this is a giant sandwich. So you're going to have HTML at the top of your page, and then you're going to have slash HTML at the bottom of your page. And then you have the head tag, which does some stuff, and the body tag, which does some stuff. We'll talk about that later. But these are the primary tags that every HTML document's going to have, okay? But then you have other tags that you use along with this. For example, there are certain tags that you only put inside of the head. I suppose I should define what the head is. On your web page, in fact, you want to know a secret? This is actually a website right here that I'm running this presentation out of. Whoa. Yeah, it's not like PowerPoint. And I can actually pull up these dev tools. If you're on Chrome or Internet Explorer or Firefox, you can actually pull up the dev tools by right-clicking on the web page and choosing Inspect. And that lets you look at the HTML of any web page you want to, which is really awesome. If you're on Safari, you have to enable developer tools. So Google how to do that. And then we can see here that this web page that I'm using right now has an HTML tag right here, and then it has a head and a body, and then close HTML. Boom. There's a bunch of stuff on the inside, but yeah. The body tag is the easiest to explain. Everything that you put inside the body tag is going to appear inside of this box right here. Okay? It's going to appear inside of your web browser. So anything you want to show inside of that box, you put in the body tag. The head tag is all of the stuff that you don't want to show to the user, but that is important for your web page. Okay? For example, you see this thing up here? That is called the title of the web page. Pretty much every web page has it. If I go to, I'm trying to think of where I can go to that wouldn't be super embarrassing. I'm just going to go to Twitter because I like Twitter. And it says, hey, Twitter, it's what's happening. That's the title of the web page. That goes in the header. So here, the title is Beginner HTML. If I go into head, I can see right here, I have this title, and it says Beginning HTML, this title tag, okay? Awesome. That's where you put the title for your web page. You can see a couple of other things here, like meta. The meta tag lets you define information about your website that shouldn't be shown to the user but should still be known. It can be used by search engines and other stuff to make it do things. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff you can do with meta tags, and that's why you get to look and see that, and how to do all that. And then we have a style tag, which lets you write CSS inside of your HTML. Look, this is CSS. It's all on one line. That's really fancy there. Wow, look at that. And then I have some more meta stuff and whatever. Okay. So let's keep going with these tags. Now that you know it, does anybody have any questions about what the head is versus what the body is? Okay, good. Let's get back into this. So, boom, here are the head tags. I have no idea what, like, okay, I don't know what base does and I don't know what object does, but the rest of those, I understand what they do. I'm not going to explain all of these tags to you today. I'm just going to move on, but know that there are those head tags. Then we have some different body tags. There are a lot more body tags than head tags. For example, we have all these block tags. Block tags are tags that create blocks. No duh. Good work there, Sherlock. A block is basically anything that creates line breaks, okay? So, for example, when you're writing paragraphs in Microsoft Word and you want your paragraph to have nice space between it, you're going to put line breaks between your paragraphs by pushing the return key. You can't just push the return key in HTML because of the way that it parses or processes the any return keys or space keys, what we call white space, okay? In order to create that white space, you have to use blocks, and these are the tags that you can use for that. And we'll play around with a couple of these. But then you have inline tags, which are exactly the opposite. Instead of creating line breaks, these you can use in the middle of sentences, in the middle of paragraphs, in the middle of whatever, in order to change the way that it looks or operates or functions or whatever. There's a lot of really interesting things here, like Ruby. What does Ruby do? And ooh, Canvas and audio and Stripe. If you're making a bowling website, I don't know. Yeah, lots of tags that you can use here. Guess what? There's more, because you can create forms where you type in information or click radio buttons or checkboxes or do all kinds of stuff. These are the form tags that you can use for that. Guess what? There's more. You have table tags that you can use to make tables. Tables are really awesome for displaying tabular information. Tables are really not awesome for displaying, for laying out websites. Do you want me to prove it to you? Oh, come on. Where is it? www. Why can't I type? I can't type. Should I use tables for layout.com? No. Don't do it. Use CSS for layout. If you don't know CSS, learn it. If you want your web page to have all kinds of weird stuff lying all over the place, use CSS, don't use tables, you'll be much happier. If you want to see though, actually I don't know that this one does. Let's see if this is still up. Yeah, check this out. This doesn't use tables for layout, but this is a really old website. I'm just showing it to you because it's really old and really cool. It's probably one of the oldest websites out there. And they do use tables for layout! Look at that! Oh, those monsters! To their credit, CSS wasn't really around back when this was made. Because when did Space Jam come out? In 1996? CSS came out in 1996, so they were just doing the best that they could, and you gotta admit, they did pretty good. But they used, like, this is like if you were to use Excel to lay out a website. That'd just be messy. Anyway, check out the Space Jam website. It's a blast from the past. Also, there's a new Space Jam movie coming out with LeBron James, which I don't know if that'll be any good or not. What I really want to know, though, is what they use to make their website for Space Jam 2. Because if it's not tables, I'm going to be really disappointed, I'll be honest. I know I just said don't use tables, but they really should just use tables. Okay, back to the good part. Guess what? There are more tags. These are deprecated tags. Deprecated means don't use these tags. These are the ones that the WHATWG and W3C and the important people that make HTML said we shouldn't use these tags anymore. Guess what? Freaking use one of these tags. It's going to be great. So yeah, let's do it. Now that I've told you all about tags and some stuff, and your brain is kind of floating around with all of these concepts and ideas, we're actually going to dive in and do some stuff. First things first, this is a really freaking awesome website called Code Sandbox. Let me see if I can type. I can't type. Gosh. I just need to remember Control. Okay. Code Sandbox is a little bit, it's a little bit advanced for people that are just learning HTML, but I was able to finagle it so that we can use it for our purposes. But yeah, it provides you with the ability to create pretty much any HTML. I would go into my code editor, I would write out my HTML, I would go to my web browser, I'd hit the refresh button, I'd see what it looks like, I'd go back to my text editor, da-da-da-da-da. But with Code Sandbox and a couple other tools that are out there, you can just type HTML and it automatically updates as you type it. We're going to see how that works. But here's the most bananas thing. Today, they released these things down here, which let you run servers for free that you can just jam on and do whatever the crap you want with. That's a big deal. Like, this is the first service that offers this kind of stuff for free that I know of. So once you learn how to do JavaScript node programming stuff, Code Sandbox. It's awesome. But today we're going to be doing HTML. So, if you're following along, we don't want to mess around with the second page. We want to mess around with the index.html. And Code Sandbox isn't really set up to do just HTML. You're supposed to do HTML, CSS, and JavaScript with it, and it does some munging for you. I, like I said, kind of messed around with it to make it work for us. So to make it work, come over here and make sure you just switch this over to the left so that it's showing the current module view, which shows whatever file you're currently selected over here. So we're going to select the index.html down here. If I select this one, it switches to that one. If I switch back, it switches to this one. Hey. Okay, we're going to play the same game. Let me do this really quick so you can see that. We're going to play the same game that we played earlier. What do you see? Tell me what you see here. Okay, opening and closing HTML. That tells us this is an HTML document. It also tells our web browser this is an HTML document. There's a head and a body, okay? So we have HTML, and then the inner part of our sandwich is the head and the body. And there's stuff inside of them. Got our title. So if I click this button here, it's going to open in a new window. And oh, I'm going to regret that. Gosh, what am I doing? You can see up here that it says page 2, because that's the title of the other page. It's weird. Okay, we'll come back here. And I'm not going to full screen it anymore. I'm just going to do it here. Okay, we've got a title. Tell me about what's inside the body. There are some tags there that you can't, I haven't shown you yet. H1. What do you think H1 does? Makes a header. There are 6 H's, actually. 6 levels of H. 6 heads. Yeah. The biggest one is H1. The smallest one is H6. Why it isn't H6 being the biggest one, I don't know, because 6 is obviously bigger than 1, but I didn't make HTML. I don't have a PhD. I don't even have a bachelor's degree. Gosh. Okay, what about this A thing? What's that? Hyperlink. Yep. It is a hyperlink, and yeah, it uses an attribute called href. Href stands for hyperreference, and it's basically whatever page we're going to link to. So here I'm linking to a page called test.html. Which, would you look at that? We have a file called test.html, which means if I click on this link, guess where I'm going to go? Test.html. I hope I didn't just screw everything up. Yeah, I just screwed everything up. Cool. We're going to jump back to this test.html because I screwed everything up. And we're going to play around with this bit, okay? let's write some HTML. Does anybody have a tag that they would like me to use first, or something they want me to do first? Yeah? Okay, we can change the background color with HTML. CSS is much better for changing the background color because it is, that's what it's designed for, how everything looks. Not the layout, well, you can use it for the layout, not the content, but for the way it looks. But we can change the background color, I just have to remember how to do it. So let's Google it. HTML change background color. It's probably going to tell me to use CSS. Yep, you see it has me use CSS there. And there's that. There we go. BG color. Boom. If I come here, I Googled it, and it tells me you can change the background color of the body using this tag. So let's copy that, and we'll come back here, and we'll paste that. BG color, and BG color go! Gosh, dang, it's not working. Testing. Oh, it's not even updating. Oh, do I have to save it? Oh, there we go. Hey, guys, make sure you fork the sandbox. If you make any changes, then save by clicking the Save button or hitting Command S or Control S if you're on Windows. It'll automatically save it. And look at that, we've got a background color. So this is hex. How many of you have ever used hex colors? Hey, Peter, awesome. Who wants to learn about hex colors? Okay, great. Then we'll just leave it. Hex colors are important, though. You should learn them. Basically, there are 3 components that are used to make colors on any screen: red, green, blue, and you can make pretty much any color using those combinations of light that is emitted from your screen. And it uses the values from 0 to 255 because computers like numbers that are multiples of, or powers of 2. And 255 is a nice round number that gives you a lot of colors that you can choose. So that's the reason why. If I want this to be red, I can do F00 and it'll make it red. Ah, come on! You're killing me! There we go. And if I want it to be blue, I can, or purple, magenta. I think you can also use named colors, so I could make this tomato, and it makes it tomato color. I'm not going to tell you all the color names. You can Google that, just HTML color names. Okay, so we've got our tomato web page. What next? You want me to just jam, like do whatever I feel like? Okay, you asked for it. There's a deprecated, well, I suppose we should put a paragraph in here. So I'm going to say this is my awesome website that I made for IS Academy. You can put whatever you want in here, but I did that with a P tag. So I open with a P tag and I close with a P tag. Notice that if I put a whole bunch of returns in there, it doesn't actually do anything. That's because, again, HTML doesn't parse spaces and returns the same way that your text editor does. If you want to put spaces, you have to use tags. So if I wanted to put some spaces here, I could use a tag called br space /. It's a self-closing tag, which means I put just the name of the tag and then a space and then slash bracket. And it stands for line break. It breaks the line. I could do a fancy line break using HR. I can't remember what the H stands for. I think it's hairline, but I could be wrong. But what that does is it creates a line. What? So that gives me the ability to make these nice breaks between sections. Cool. If there's something that you want me to do, raise your hand or shout it out. I'm just going to keep going. Let's create a list of the things that Tim Berners-Lee made. So I'm going to create my list. Should we make this list so that it's made of bullets or made of numbers? Bullets. Okay. So to make a list with bullets, we use a tag called UL. UL stands for unordered list because it's bullets. It doesn't have an order to them. Whenever I make a new tag, I always close the tag immediately. That's just what I do because it helps me to remember to close my tags. if you don't close your tags, this is something that's actually really interesting about HTML. Unlike most programming languages, if there is a syntax error in your HTML, your web browser is not going to barf on you. It's actually going to work just fine. Like, it'll do the best that it can. I can literally delete tons of code from my HTML, and it'll keep working just fine. In fact, I'm going to prove it to you. Somebody give me a website that's really fancy. I mean, okay, so some of us think that Caviar is really fancy, but I don't know. But that's a good answer. Let me sign in really quick. Nobody spam me by printing to my NetID. That's super rude. And these are the classes that I'm taking. If you take classes at BYU, those. Okay. And I just opened the web inspector, and you can see here all of that stuff. Here's the head, here's the body, here's all that stuff. And suppose that I just wanted to delete one of my classes or change it. I can come here to inspect element. Oh, I'm super sorry. There's that. Yep. Okay. Here's that, and it's a link, and I can see here that it's an A, it has a class, it has an href, it has an on-click. Man, Learning Suite is a program on the web. And if I want to change this so that instead it is, this is taught by the IS department chair, and actually I wouldn't put it past her to have a class called Dinosaur Training. So that's awesome. And then if I wanted to delete all of my other classes, I can just come here and delete this HTML, and it goes away. No, seriously, guys, try it. You really should just try playing with it. Oh, shoot, I broke Learning Suite. So I guess in some cases it does break. But if you could do this on any website and mess around with it, and it'd be great. Totally, totally fine. You can just refresh the page. And, oh, dang it, I'm not taking Dinosaur Training anymore. I'm just really disappointed. I might have to just stop here and go home. Okay. I won't do that, though. You're paying a lot of not money to come here. So, now that I've been on that tangent about how you can break the web and not really break the web, gosh, there's one more thing I want to show you, but I can't. Maybe at the very end. It's literally a bookmark that you can put on your web browser, and when you click on it, a little TIE fighter shows up on your screen, and you can fly it around and shoot at pictures and paragraphs, and it makes them blow up and disappear. It's really awesome and super fun, and somebody had way too much time on their hands. Okay, now that we're making a list, we're going to use the LI tag. LI stands for list item. Go figure. And I'm going to put my information in here. HTML, LI. And then I'll do a line break because that makes it easier to read, but you actually don't have to. Oh, there are two T's. Hypertext, totally markup language, URL, and HTTP, and LI web sandwich. There you go. Boom. It has those bullets. And if I were to do this with an ordered list, I would change that to be OL. Make sure you change the opening and the closing tag. But again, look, the web page still works even though my tags don't match up. But technically that's wrong. Cool. That's great. Let's see. What should I do next?
I got a quick question for you. You were saying that it doesn't show up in the chain or space like that.
Yeah.
Is that just like it's like you can put it in HTML, but it won't show up on the page unless you put it on the page?
Correct. Correct. So you see I've got this line break here between UL and OL, and if I put more returns, it doesn't add anything, and if I delete so that there's no returns, I could put this all on a single line. In fact, some websites do that because apparently those line breaks take up space, take up bytes, and they want to make it so that the HTML that they send over the wire is as small as possible because that makes it so you can download it faster. Doesn't make a difference for us because we have really fast internet, but if you're in South America or Africa or West Virginia, then I say that with all the respect to West Virginians, but literally they don't have cable out there. They have satellite internet, which is fast enough for them, but it's not as fast as cable. So when you're making websites, that's something to consider. Who's going to be consuming this, and will it be a good experience for them to download my website? Just a little side note there. Cool. Somebody asked about an image, so let's throw an image up here. I'm literally going to put an image of the first appropriate thing that somebody tells me to put an image of. Peter. I can't put all of Google into an image. I hope that this is not, I hope I don't regret this. This one? That is pretty good. I do like that. Okay, so if I want to get the URL, so to have this image, I have to have it, it has to be on the internet so that everyone can access it. This image obviously is because Google has it, and I can get the link to it by right-clicking and choosing not copy link address, because this link is, this image is actually a link. If I click on it, it'll take me somewhere else. I want to copy the image address. And then I come back here, and I create my image tag. So let's put it, I'm going to put it here at the top so that I don't have to scroll my page. I'm going to put it right here. IMG. That tag, or that attribute that I use is src equals. Notice this is different than, oh, look at that. It's actually busted. That's nifty. This is different than links. Links use href. Images use img source, src. Okay? Paste that in there, and images are self-closing, and boom, we've got our gorilla. Our gorilla, our primate pachyderm. There's an attribute that I can add that changes the width, and I'm just going to set that to 100 pixels. If you don't know what a pixel is, Google it, and you'll find out what a pixel is. Cool. Am I going too fast? How are we doing? I'm just going to let you guys hang out for a sec while I look at this primate pachyderm. And it's quite the pose. Have you ever seen that comic that's like, what if centaurs were the horse on top and the person on the bottom? or baby centaurs. Like, horses can run right when they are born, but babies, human babies, are like, they can't even hold themselves up. So you have these horses running around, tops going, ah. Okay, that's enough of that. If you were here at the very beginning, you heard my awesome 80s radio, which is awesome. Here it is. I hope YouTube doesn't censor this video because of this. But I can actually grab the link here, and I can use a special tag called audio to play this music that I have here on the internet. And I'll use src equals blah. And then there's another attribute that I'm going to put that doesn't have an equal sign after it. It just says, I want controls. And, well, I suppose I should do that. So that's the appropriate way. Look, there's that audio, and I can click this, and I can do one better, though. What if I wanted to make it so that it autoplays, or autoplay? So then when it loads, didn't even have to click on it. I love hypertext. Okay, that's enough of that. I don't want this to get censored on Google because I'm playing copyrighted music, which it probably will be. Sorry, Google. Sorry, the 80s. Let's see. Oh, I told you I was going to break the rules. There is a tag that is deprecated, but every single web browser still supports it. It's called marquee. And this just goes to show why you need to wrap your HTML elements. It thinks that this marquee tag doesn't end, and so it's just making everything just fly across the screen. You can have some pretty like serious animations going on with just HTML. I haven't used any CSS or JavaScript, just HTML, and I have my whole page going. Whoop. Okay, let's just put this on the image. I'm going to make an HTML page that's like a bit.ly link, like, you know, when people send you shortened URLs and, oh, whoops, you got rickrolled. I'm going to make it, except it's like some guy on a desk in the marquee tag, and he's just going, ooh. Okay. Let's make this one more bit heinous, and we're going to use another deprecated tag called blink. Guess what this does? Ah, crap, blink isn't... Ah, Google Chrome, you failed me! This deprecated tag actually isn't being used anymore. Dang it, I can't put it in there. That's a real shame. Okay. Let me show you 2 more tags that are really important, and then maybe 3 more tags, and then maybe 15 more tags. There are a lot of tags I could show you. Really quick, there are some tags that you can use to style your text, which is really handy. If I want it to be bold, I can use the B tag. Stands for bold. There's another tag which is very similar to B. It's called strong. The difference between B and strong is that B specifically bolds stuff, but strong should be used by the specification for the strong tag says it should be used by the user agent. When it says user agent, it's just talking about the web browser. It should be used by the user agent to indicate something that should be emphasized, okay? So on a website using, well, something that should be displayed strongly or whatever. On a website that's visual, bolding it does just that. But if I have an audio user agent, if I'm listening to it, then it's going to read this, and because the awesome is just bold, it's not going to read that as strong, but it's going to say, this is my awesome website, that, etc., etc. Cool. Another tag. You have the I tag that makes stuff italic. Look, this is my. And then I have the M tag, which is used for emphasis. And notice that both of them just... Oh, I need to slash this I. Slash. This is the same deal. One of them italicizes, one of them also italicizes, but its meaning is different. So if I were you, I would always just use the M tag and the strong tag because it tells the story just a little bit better. And you can use them together. So if I wanted to come here and do I, and then I there, that makes it italic and bold. Whoa. And then you can use U to underline stuff and all kinds of tags. Look them up. It's lots of fun. Okay, suppose I wanted to create some sections for my website that are blocks. I would use the div tag. In fact, most websites you'll find are actually just a lot of div tags. If I were to go to, I'm going to regret this, but facebook.com, who's going to say something? Oh, I'm not logged in. Great. That's perfect. Stop! Don't use the dev tools with Facebook because they don't like it. And look, everything is just wrapped in a div on Facebook. If I come in here, all of these are divs except the image. Oh, sorry. Blah, blah, blah. Blah. Except this image somewhere. I don't even know where this is. And yeah, I can't tell you how many times I write div when I'm writing HTML. We're back. We're back. We're good. Okay, we're good. So, divs are really important for just defining sections of your web page, okay? And then if you want to specifically target individual parts of your website, like inline instead of as a block, because div is a block element, you can use the span tag. Notice that div and span didn't really do anything. I can't tell the difference, but the markup is there, and I can use that with CSS and JavaScript to change the way that my website looks and operates. Okay? What questions do you have? This is the end of the interactive portion, so if there's anything else that you would like me to do or explain before we get to the end of the whole thing, now's the time to say that. So I'll show you that at the very end.
Okay.
But that is awesome. I don't even know how I would find that. I'm sure I can Google it somehow. Anything else? Okay. Last thing, Google is your friend. You saw that I used Google a couple of times in order to figure out some stuff about how to do stuff in HTML. There's absolutely nothing wrong with Googling stuff to learn, even if you are supposed to already know it. I love it when people on Twitter, I follow a bunch of programmers on Twitter, and there's one guy that's like, I had to Google this particular data type that's really basic that every CS student should know. Oh, and I work at Google. Like, it happens to everybody all the time. There's nothing wrong with it. Okay, back to the good part. Oh, just kidding. That is good, but, oh crap, I lost it. Sorry guys, you get to see all of my slides all over again. Okay. So, I have the link to my slides. I'm going to post it on the Slack. It's already posted on the Slack channel anyway, but I'm going to post it again, just for good measure. Here's a bunch of links that you can use to learn more stuff. This is a video tutorial. It's actually several videos. They're about 10 minutes long each. Nice, bite-sized. Watch them at 2x speed. Watch them at quarter speed, if that's your jam. And you can use that to learn HTML. I think it also covers a bit of CSS too, which is awesome. Interneting is Hard is a website that takes you through step-by-step different processes for building beautiful websites. Again, that's both HTML and CSS. I know that today we just talked about HTML, but CSS is really important for building beautiful websites. So you should learn that at some point, and make sure that you come to the next IS Academy where I'm teaching CSS. Not the next one, but the next one. Unless I'm mistaken, I can't remember. I think I'm in DC in 2 weeks, so. The Web Dev Guild is actually my thing. I made this collection of stuff that you can use to learn HTML, CSS, and JavaScript on the Web Dev Guild website. This link takes you directly to what I call the HTML badge, which is 5 different sections that you can use to dive deep into HTML. It has projects that you can do as well. There is a Discord server that nobody uses anymore, but if you want, you can hit me up on that Discord server, and I'll be like, yo, and you'll be like, yo, and we can chat. And then there are these hardcore projects that you can do. I call them hardcore because that didn't work, did it? Did it? I don't know. I'm going to do that though. Oh, yeah, these are 5 projects to complete when starting to learn front-end web development. Cool. Front-end web development is just making websites. Hey, make a 1-page responsive layout. Cool. Awesome. So if you really get into it, if you learn some HTML and CSS, these are some fun projects that you can do to hone your skills. I actually should probably do it because I'm getting kind of rusty with just HTML and CSS. I reach for other stuff very quickly. So that's that. Yeah, that's how you can learn more. And then you should build something. You should start building something right now. I know you can't make it look pretty without CSS, but at very least you can start laying stuff out and putting content in. Making content is really hard. It's actually some of the most time-consuming pieces of web development. It's not the actual tags, but the stuff that goes in the tags. So start making that content. Make a portfolio or a resume website, something that you can show to employers and be like, look at me, I'm really cool. I'm going to show you mine. It's actually really crappy and I haven't updated it in like a year. You could make a recipe book with several pages. In fact, something that I was going to show you but didn't get to was linking between pages, multiple pages of HTML. But that's something that you can learn on your own and then make a recipe book. A fandom explosion! Have all sorts of pictures and GIFs and videos and auto-playing audio and whatever for whatever you're a super fan of. Like, I could do one for spaceships, because I love spaceships. You know Benny the space guy from the Lego movie? That's me! Spaceships. In fact, I'm sorry. I'm just so distracted all the time, but I got to show you this meme that I have right here. Should give him a little missionary name tag too. Anyway, You could make a bookmarks homepage. That was actually the first website that I made. I was like, okay, I'm on the web browser all the time, and there are these websites that I go to all the time. I'm going to make this super fancy website with all of these links, with the pictures, but I'm going to make it so that when you move your mouse over them, it has this little portal that opens up and glows. It was really ballin', and I am so sad I don't have it anymore. I'm really disappointed. But that was the first website that I made, and I didn't put it on the internet. It was just on my computer, but it was cool. Make a birthday card website. You can program it in HTML, have some fun little thing, like you could embed a YouTube video. Whose birthday is coming up next? Does anyone have a birthday in the next week? In October? In November? December? What's your name? Epic. Happy birthday, Katie. I don't know if that's how you spell your name, but... Okay, yeah, thanks, Monday. You're great. Yay, ads. So, there you go. You can embed that in your website and make it so that it's more personalized than dinosaurs and turtles and weird stuff. It's really bizarre, but that's today. Cool. So you can make that. How do you get it onto the internet? That's a little bit beyond the scope of this class today, but here are a couple of ways that you can do it. First, Mozilla, the guys that make Firefox, they're actually like really awesome at giving away important, good stuff for free. So they have this guide on publishing your website, which tells you how to get a domain name, like one of those things, www.myname.com. They explain how to get your website up there and taken care of and whatnot, and how to get a server, because you have to have that server that hosts stuff. Client host stuff. I also listed 4 free services. The great thing about these services is they're 100% free, and you can host your HTML, CSS, and JavaScript on them for nothing. It's great. The downside is I wasn't able to find any free services for hosting your website that were really simple and beginner-friendly. So these ones, you have to know how to use the command line. For GitHub pages, you have to know how to use a tool called Git. Using the command line and Git is really awesome and powerful, and you should all learn how to do it. Again, outside the scope of this class, so I'm going to leave that to you. Although, now that I think about it, let me check something real quick. Let me just pull this up. I think if I'll pull this over. Oh, web dev build. That's not it. That's not it. And that's not it. Yeah, I didn't put anything in any of those 4 hosting your website, which is a shame. I really should. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, those are the free ways of doing it that I know of. I'm sure that there are other free ways of doing it that are more beginner-friendly, but I couldn't find them. And obviously, you can pay for a server for $5 a month from Amazon or DigitalOcean or somewhere else, but that's expensive and lame, so do it for free. I have like tons of websites that I run for free, and it's awesome. Okay, this is what I'm going to leave you with. Yeah, that's what I'm going to leave you with. So let me do that. There's this website called Y Combinator. It's called Hacker News. Well, yeah, news.ycombinator.com, Hacker News. Some people think that it's really toxic and not necessarily a good place, but I think that there are some real gems. This is one of them. I can't remember what specifically this was about, but this guy was like, the web is awesome because it's the world's biggest software platform that isn't owned, which is to say that everybody owns it. This is very quickly changing, where pretty soon everything's going to be owned by Facebook and Google and people aren't going to own their own websites anymore because everything is going to be on Facebook and Google and whatever. But for right now, you can create your own website, you can put it on the internet, you can put whatever you want on there and share it with the entire world and make really great stuff for everybody. And he talks about how the URL is really awesome. And yeah, I'll let you guys read this more yourself, but it's really awesome. The web has its weirdness, and yeah, there's just, people complain about HTML, CSS, and JavaScript all the time, but you really can't beat it for how fast you can get it in the hands of a lot of people really quickly. The web's changed everything, and it's going to continue changing things, and learning how to make stuff for the web with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript is an incredibly powerful tool nowadays. So I'm going to close with my website, which I actually have right here on the last page. It's super boring. I think the only cool thing about it is the fact that my face is in a hexagon, but other than that, it's boring. I've got these posts. I've got projects that I'm like, yeah, I'm going to put something there. Here's my resume. I haven't updated it in a year. Yeah, whatever. And a bunch of links. Cool. I bet you could make a cooler website than mine. Yeah. I write stuff on Twitter about stuff, so follow me if you feel like. And there's the link to this presentation, which again, I'm going to post it in that Slack channel. I'll put it on the live stream URL, put it wherever I can so that you can get access to it and all those links that I have in this website thing. Yeah, that's it. Any questions that I can answer before I turn off the live stream? Thanks, guys. You were great.
Thank you.